Hello and welcome to yet another episode of One Take. This week we are going to be talking about how the world is responding to India's cry and anger over the Pahalgam terror attack. We all have seen the Prime Minister successfully completing one international trip after another. And despite the fact that the Congress party is accusing him and attacking the Prime Minister for his overseas travels, what they fail to understand is that this is a huge diplomatic mission that he has gone on. India has yet to recover from what happened at Pahalgam. While the search is on for the terrorists, we also want the world to stand up and take note of the fact that Pakistan cannot behave as if it's business as usual. Unfortunately, Pakistan is precisely behaving like that. But why just Pakistan? There are countries like Turkey, there are countries like China who are actually not being vocal in their criticism of what Pakistan is encouraging. At the BRICS summit, it was a huge diplomatic point which was scored by India when the entire BRICS members stood up and supported and condemned what happened at Pahalgam. But there was one thing which was missing, and that was the name of Pakistan. Why is it that Pakistan is not being called out? Why are they not being name called? What is it that some countries are shying away from? It is this double standard which India wants to and seeks to expose. You cannot say and support India on the issues of terrorism and say that we condemn these acts of terror. And mind you, it's those countries who themselves have faced terror who are the ones who are now trying to sail on two boats. That's not really possible. Not when you want to do what is considered to be the right thing. And the right thing over here would certainly be to condemn Pakistan by name. You mention UK, you talk about America, you talk about France, you talk about Germany. All these countries have been affected by acts of terror. And all of the thread goes up to Pakistan. And that proof has been given by India. So while we are happy and we like the fact that the BRICS summit has condemned what happened in Pahalgam, India clearly mange more. The Prime Minister wants more, that's a part of his diplomatic mission, and India also wants more. Because all of what is happening there is also going to have an indigenous fallout back over here. I'm going to dwell on the domestic politics and the repercussions in a bit. But first of all, the duplicity of countries is very, very much clear and it is exposed. You know, America is supporting India, for example, and condemned by Pahalgam attack. They also acknowledge that what is done by Pakistan was wrong. But at the same time, they do not even raise a voice when it comes to giving additional aid to Pakistan, or when there are international financial institutions which end up giving money to Pakistan. Why is it that these international financial institutions, even though this kind of a request for financial aid has come in from earlier, is not put a halt to it? Because they very well know that where this money is going. This money is being funded for acts of terror. And this is what is even hurting them. There has been ample proof which has been given to show that how, for example, there's a common thread between Lashkar-e-Taiba, Hamas, so on and so forth. So it's not India's battle alone and should not be seen as India's battle alone. And this is where we need to call out the duplicity of the world. You may be a developed country, but at the end of the day, when it comes to deaths and when it comes to act of terror, you're no different. And that is, unfortunately, terrorism can be a great leveler. In the sense, you know, heinous crimes doesn't distinguish between the rich and the poor, developed and the so-called developing countries. That's one. The second is back home over here in India. Every time we talk and laud the government because international institutions are standing up and understanding the Pahalgam terror attack, they are asking two questions. Why is it that Pakistan is still getting away? And second, where are the terrorists? This is a time and caution which has to be exercised. Yes, the search for terrorists is very much on. Yes, they need to be nabbed. They cannot be allowed to move around freely. Are they being sheltered? Is there a possibility that they're going to try another attack? Because Pakistan cannot be trusted. Because Pakistan is one country which will never ever learn a lesson. It may be suffering its own internal political turmoil, but when it comes to dealing with the world reality, they're the last ones to understand so. But at the same time, India also has to understand, and our politicians also need to understand, that at this point of time, condemning, taking pot shots, and mocking the government, especially when the Prime Minister is traveling abroad, is not helping our case. In fact, it emboldens the fence-sitters. It gives them a point not to name Pakistan. And that is the question which I want to end this week's episode on one take. Is the duplicity of the developed countries now getting exposed? While they come out with statements in support of India and condemn the acts of terror, but many of them are carrying on with business as usual with Pakistan. Many of them are not even naming and shaming Pakistan. What's the point? Do give in your response on the social media timeline. Thank you so much for watching.